Vladimir Guerrero Sr. was such a unique ball player. No matter where the ball was located, there was a good chance that it was leaving the building, and he wasn't afraid to jump on the first pitch. In fact, he hit 126 home runs in these situations, more than Barry Bonds and McGwire. And if you're a pitcher, don't fall behind Vlad, because for his career, he batted .417 in 3-1 counts. And how can you forget about his absolute missile in right field? As you can already tell, there's a lot to discuss surrounding the life and career of Vlad Sr. By popular demand, we're talking about Super Vlad today. Thank you to everyone for the suggestions, and make sure to leave a comment and maybe you'll be featured on a future video. As always, if you enjoy, make sure to leave a like and consider subscribing. Hit the bell to enable all notifications so you don't miss any future Cam 23 videos. Vladimir Alvino Guerrero was born on February 9th in 1975 in Musial, Dominican Republic. Vlad's father was out of the picture before he was born. From a young age, he experienced impoverished living conditions. There was no running water and electricity. In 1979, Hurricane David blew the roof off of their shack, and all 7 family members from there on out shared a single room. Vlad's mother found work in Venezuela, leaving her children in the care of a great aunt. Working as a cook and maid, she would shuttle between the two nations for 11 years to support her family. Vlad helped in any way he could. He harvested vegetables and would tend to cattle in the fields with his grandfather. As a result, he missed too many classes and dropped out of school after the 5th grade. This impacted his future big league career, as he rarely did interviews with the press because of the language barrier. Vlad grew up in a community that was a baseball haven. The equipment they used was all homemade, from the baseball to home plate. Baseball talent was in the Guerrero DNA. Before Vlad could make a name for himself, his half-brothers Wilton and Eliezer both became prospects for the LA Dodgers. Wilton went on to have an 8-year career in the big leagues, playing with 4 different organizations, including the Montreal Expos, Vlad's future team. But before this happened, at 16 years old, Vlad received heavy criticism from the Dodgers Academy that he attended. They saw him as a slow player with a long swing. He wasn't the skinny Vlad that everyone remembers from his rookie season. He was heavier set at the time. But after going through some training, he got himself into pro ball shape. Fred Ferreira, a scout for the Montreal Expos, offered Vlad a tryout. During the training camp, he got just 1 at-bat after pulling a muscle while running to first base. Luckily, he'd impressed Ferreira with his strong arm, speed, and strength. And the Expos decided to sign him on February 24th in 1993, paying him a $2,000 signing bonus. He was just 17 years old. Soon enough, Vlad was ranked number 85 in Baseball America's top 100 prospects list after slugging 16 homers and batting .333 in Class A ball. This was the beginning of a quick rise through the minor league ranks for Vladdy, who eventually rose to the number 2 spot in Baseball America's prospect list, only behind Andruw Jones. On September 19, 1996, Vladimir Guerrero made his major league debut. He went 1 for 5 with a single. His real introduction to the league, however, came in 1997 when he got into just 90 games thanks to a couple of injuries. Albeit he played well enough in that limited sample to garner a 6th place finish in Rookie of the Year voting. While his hitting was great, his fielding was a bit shaky. Despite playing way fewer games, he led all outfielders with 12 errors. There was some room for improvement, but Vlad was still getting his feet wet in the major leagues. When you're far from home and have to face a language barrier, finding your way around can be challenging. Felipe, Alou, and Pedro Martinez were especially great mentors to Vladdy during their time together on the Expos. Unfortunately, it wasn't long after this that Martinez was on his way out of Montreal, getting traded following the '97 season to the Boston Red Sox. Guerrero, following his teammate's departure, became the new franchise cornerstone player, and boy did he cement his status in 1998. He not only was mashing the ball out of the park, he was racking up hits like they were going out of style. Like I hinted at earlier, Vlad swung at everything. Ball, strike, at his shoulders, in the dirt, everything was fair game. But collecting 200 hits as a free swinger is by no means expected. This threshold is something he would reach a total of 4 times throughout his career. What's even more surprising is that Vlad would improve his K percentage after striking out a reasonable 95 times for a power hitter. He was nowhere near the numbers that Sammy Sosa, Jose Canseco, and McGwire were putting up. All 3 of them struck out 150 times or more. Vlad's 95 Ks seem all the more impressive when keeping that in mind. Earlier, I said that Vladdy's half-brother Wilton would play for the Expos, but what I didn't mention is that they would eventually be teammates. During this '98 season, Wilton was traded to the Expos. The brothers would play together for 2 more years following 1998. But back to Vladdy, his 1998 season is what I view as his true breakout year. He had 38 dingers, drove at 109, collected 202 hits, stole 11 bases, batted .324, and posted a 150 OPS+. He was rewarded for this performance with a top 15 finish in MVP voting. Considering the steroid era he played in, this is really impressive for a guy who did it clean. Before the season came to a close, there was talk of a potential extension for Montreal to lock up their young superstar player. Eventually, the two sides put pen to paper. Guerrero was given a new contract that spanned from 1999 to 2003 and paid him a combined $28 million. In today's money, that equates to just over $52 million. That's still miles apart from what guys like Julio Rodriguez, Tatis Jr., and other young superstars get paid nowadays. In Spider-Man, Uncle Ben said that with great power comes great responsibility. But the part 2 to this quote is that with a lot of money comes a lot of responsibility. Vladdy would take this to heart and put together remarkable numbers in 1999. He hit .316, mashed 42 homers, drove in a career-best 131 runs, stole 14 bases, and posted a 146 OPS+. He made his first All-Star team and won his first Silver Slugger. I should also mention that he significantly reduced his already good strikeout numbers. 55 walks to 62 strikeouts for a 40-homer guy is ridiculous. Of course, to unaware fans, 42 dingers doesn't look as sexy as the league-leading 65 that McGwire hit, but Super Vlad didn't need PEDs. He had superpowers. Those being elite bat-to-ball skills, speed, cannon for an arm, and insane power. It was around this time that the Expos suggested that he start learning English, which he never followed through with. Instead, he would let his bat do the talking. We can now add it to the list of superpowers, a talking bat, which surprisingly is not an original idea for a movie. Entering the 2000 season at just 25 years old, Vlad still hadn't reached his ceiling. Looking at Guerrero's career, it's really hard to pick out his best season, which is a great problem to have. But strictly looking at power numbers and hitting for average, the year 2000 makes a strong case. 44 long balls, 123 runs driven in, a .345 batting average, 1.074 OPS, 164 OPS+, and 197 hits. Several career highs came for Vlad this season, including batting average, slugging, OPS, OPS+, homers, and total bases. He was truly extraordinary in the batter's box, and got his second Silver Slugger to pair with his second All-Star appearance. Considering all we just discussed, you would think it'd be difficult to continually amaze, but Vlad was not your prototypical ballplayer. Prior to 2001, 14 stolen bases was the highest total of his career. Let's just say that he would well exceed that number during this campaign. Before Vladdy boggles our minds again, you may have noticed that I haven't talked about the postseason. Let's just say there's a pretty good reason why I didn't. In 2001, Vlad out of nowhere decided he wanted to add his name to the 30-30 club. He made his third All-Star team, hit 34 homers, stole 37 bases, drove in 108, batted .307, and posted a career-high 45 doubles with a 139 OPS+. Vlad was an extra base machine. Along with his offensive prowess, he also decided to mess around and pick up what I'm going to call 2 of his most insane canon events. Not the canon event that's taking over social media, the canon event that took place in right field. Super Vlad continued to amaze with a barehanded assist to throw out Benny Agbayani and a no-hop laser beam to nab Alberto Castillo at the plate. There are a lot of signature qualities that are synonymous with Vlad, but I believe his consistency is the most underrated part of his legacy. Batting .300 and above while reaching 30 home runs and driving in 100 consistently are things that all-time greats like Ted Williams and Willie Mays were doing. As if a 30-30 season wasn't enough, the next year Vlad decided to go for 40-40, and he nearly got there, finishing just 1 home run shy. But before we talk about Guerrero's incredible season, one thing needs to be said. Prior to the 2002 season taking place, the future of the Expos was looking grim, as Major League Baseball had threatened to disband the franchise. This was all just a way for the owners to put pressure on the players' union, but nonetheless, it made for a lot of uncertainty. Like we mentioned before, Vlad's bat would do all the talking. 2002 is without a doubt a candidate for Vladdy's finest season. 39 homers, 40 stolen bases, 111 runs driven in, a .336 average, an OPS north of 1,000, and a 160 OPS plus. Not to mention he tallied a league-leading 206 hits and walked more than he struck out. Putting together back-to-back 30-30 seasons is something that's been done by just 9 players, including Vlad, in the history of baseball. There's a reason he was nicknamed Vlad the Impaler, and it's because he punished the baseball, and pitchers were scared to death to pitch to him. Can you blame him? Super Vlad had mashed more than 30 homers in 5 consecutive seasons, and even if he wasn't taking you deep, he could still hit the ball into the gap and leg out a double, which he did 37 times in 2002. Vlad made the All-Star team, won his 3rd Silver Slugger, and finished 4th in MVP voting. Unbeknownst to Vlad, 2003 would be his last season in Montreal. The Expos were in the midst of contending for a wildcard spot until some misfortune struck. Vlad injured his back during a game in late May, which caused him an excruciating amount of pain. There was a decent chance that his season was over thanks to a herniated disc. Without their firepower on offense, the Expos won just 18 of their next 47 games. Luckily, Guerrero was able to make a return in mid-August. In September, Vlad hit for the cycle against the Mets, and overall did a lot of the heavy lifting for Montreal's lineup. Even with Vlad putting the offense on his back, the Expos were too far gone to save their season. They finished 4th place in the division, and Vlad was headed to free agency. The Expos would play just one more season in Montreal before relocating to Washington, D.C. in 2004. But the Expos prior to 2004 made Vlad a competitive offer, 5 years for $75 million. In the end, he was uninterested in playing for a club with an uncertain future. As you can imagine, there was a lot of interested clubs in acquiring Vladdy's services. Both the O's and the Mets made him offers exceeding $70 million, but Guerrero rejected both in favor of signing elsewhere. The team that won the Vlad sweepstakes had a new owner, Art Moreno, and he was extremely determined to make 2004 a year in which the Angels returned to glory after a disappointing 2003 season. I'm not sure why I'm building so much suspense to something that happened nearly 2 decades ago, but the Anaheim Angels signed Guerrero to a 5-year, $70 million contract that paid him $5 million as a signing bonus. The deal also included a club option for the 2009 season. The Angels' skipper, Mike Sosa, was stoked to have the #1 guy on the market, and he wasn't alone in feeling that way. Vlad's Angel career started off with a strong month of April, and he kicked it into high gear to help lead the charge to October baseball. For the first time in his career, Vladdy was going to the postseason, but not before he put together an unbelievable regular season. A .337 average, 39 homers, 126 ribbies, 15 stolen bases, 39 doubles, a league-leading 124 runs scored, and a 157 OPS plus. His 206 hits almost feel like a side note. So many things were working for Super Vlad this season. Manager Mike Sosa testified to that sentiment. Our expectations were high, and he met every one of them. He carried the team single-handedly down the stretch. Before we talk about what Guerrero would add to his trophy shelf, let's see what the Angels did in the 2004 postseason. After securing the AL West division crown, they matched up against the Boston Red Sox, who were 6 wins better during the regular season. And it showed. The Angels were scorched in the first 2 of a 5-game series, losing both by 5 or more runs. Game 3 was a nail-biter, but in the end the Red Sox pulled off a 3-game sweep. Overall, Vlad was productive in the series. Sure, he hit below 200, but it's only in 12 at-bats and the guy hit a dinger and drove in 6. Not bad at all for just 3 games. I guess Vlad would have to settle for winning the biggest award of his career, the MVP. It was the 5th time in baseball history that a player switched leagues and was named most valuable player in their first season. Being an Orioles fan, I feel obligated to say that Frank Robinson was another such player. Along with the MVP, naturally, Vlad would make his 5th All-Star team and picked up his 4th career Silver Slugger. After an MVP season, it can be a daunting task trying to replicate such a performance. Vlad was up to the task. Although he would miss some time due to separating his shoulder and missed about 3 weeks of action. A huge milestone for Vladdy came late in 2005 as he reached 300 career homers. The Angels repeated as division champs and this time would face off against the New York Yankees in the first round. Vlad hit well, batting .333 to help the Halos advance to the championship round against the Chicago White Sox. Vlad went just 1 for 20 in the series as the Angels faltered, losing in 5 games. It's hardly a consolation prize, but Vlad would finish 3rd in MVP voting and won his 5th Silver Slugger. For the third time in his career, he walked more than he struck out. But in 2005, he took it to a new level. Vlad struck out just 48 times, the lowest total of his career in a full season. At the top of his game, he had every reason to talk about his success, but time and time again, Vladdy always turned the attention away from himself. In interviews, he always preferred talking about family and his mother's cooking over what he did on the ball field. The Angels missed the playoffs in 2006, but Guerrero continued his string of success. He finished top 10 in MVP, made the All-Star team, won a third consecutive Silver Slugger, and reached the 200-hit mark for the fourth time in his career. Oh, and before I forget, he hit 30 homers and drove in 100 for the 8th time in his career. I'd also like to point out that he led the league with 25 intentional walks and did so 5 times throughout his career, 4 of which came with the Angels in consecutive seasons from 2005 to 2008. 2007 was a memorable year for Guerrero. He made the All-Star team, then went on to participate in the Home Run Derby and won. Little did he know that 16 years later, his son Vlad Jr. would win the Derby. They became the first father-son duo to win Derby titles. Vlad Jr. has such a bright future, and his swing is eerily similar to his father's. Sr. set an incredibly high bar for his son to surpass, but it'll be interesting to see where he stands a decade from now. Guerrero showcased his consistency from April to September in 2007 to help the Halos secure the AL West division crown. They would have themselves a rematch against the Red Sox, and it didn't go well. They were swept again. Luckily, they were able to shake it off and made 2008 a memorable regular season. K-Rod set a single-season saves record, and the team won 100 games, the most in franchise history, securing the AL West division once again. And wow, I can't believe I'm saying this, the Red Sox were the first-round opponent for the 3rd time in 5 years. In the series, Vlad was a beast, hitting .467, but the Red Sox would shockingly win 3 out of 4 games against them. If an Angels team with a franchise-best 100 wins wasn't good enough, what was? After the season, Vlad was hit with the injury bug again, this time requiring surgery on his right knee in October, and it took him out for a portion of 2009 as well. This season would be Vlad's last hurrah as a Halo. Another milestone came for Vlad in August, when he mashed his 400th career home run. As a result of injuries, Guerrero was now the primary designated hitter. Before the Angels went on to their 3rd straight postseason, I need to show this masterpiece of a swing that came against my favorite team, and of course it happened on my birthday. Chris Tillman threw Vlad a pitch that literally bounced in the dirt in an effort to get him to swing and miss. What Tillman didn't consider, however, was the possibility that Guerrero would flick this ball into left field for a base hit, and would reach second base after being aggressive on the base paths, putting pressure on left fielder Felix PA, and he threw the ball away. The Angels would go on to win the division for the 3rd consecutive season, and in the first round matched up against, hold on a second here, there's no way I'm reading this right, the Red Sox? Well, let's see how they did. I think the Angels were tired of being bullied and decided to flip the script. The Halos swept Boston. Vladdy played a big part in the sweep, singling off of Jonathan Papelbon in the 9th inning of Game 3 to give the Angels a 1-run lead. The Angels now had a date with the Yankees in the championship series. Vlad turned in his best postseason performance of his career, hitting .370 with the dinger and driving in 5. The homer he hit came at a crucial moment as he tied the score on a homer off of Pettitte in a must-win Game 3 for the Angels. But in heartbreaking fashion, New York took down the Halos in 6 games. Following the October disappointment, it was a bittersweet farewell for Vlad and the Angels. The team got their star player, but weren't able to make it to the promised land. Vladdy entered free agency for the 2nd time of his big league career and signed a 1-year contract with the Texas Rangers. In 2010, he had a very productive season as a DH, hitting 29 homers and driving in 115. He finished just outside the top 10 in MVP voting and won his 8th and final Silver Slugger award. Luckily for Vlad, he was playing on a Rangers team that would go on to win the AL West. Their first opponent was the Tampa Bay Rays, and they would advance after securing a Game 5 win, thanks to a Cliff Lee complete game masterpiece, where he allowed just 1 run. Texas would have to take out another AL East team in the championship series, the New York Yankees. The Angels weren't able to get through the Yanks the year prior, but the Rangers in 2010 were able to take down New York, winning in 6 games. For the first time in his career, Guerrero was going to the World Series. This would be his one and only chance to win a ring. Unfortunately for Vladdy and the Rangers, they ran into a tough opponent, the San Francisco Giants, who went on to not only win the World Series in 2010, but in 2012 and 2014 as well. Vlad's October performance ended in disappointing fashion as he went hitless in his final 13 at-bats. After losing out on Vladdy in 2004, the Baltimore Orioles showed interest in adding Guerrero to the team ahead of the 2011 season. This would come to fruition, and unknown to him at the time, it would be his final destination of his big league career. While it wasn't a Vladdy caliber season, he would add his name to the record books. During the 2011 season, he broke the all-time hits record for players born in the Dominican Republic. In the process, he passed Julio Franco and was honored in a pregame ceremony with a plaque for his great accomplishment. He would hold that title for just 3 years when Adrian Beltre came along and broke it with the Rangers in 2014. Following his season with the O's, Vlad had difficulties finding his next club. The Blue Jays inked him to a minor league deal, but was granted a release after not making it to the big leagues in the first couple months of the regular season. Vlad traveled back home to the Dominican Republic with the idea that playing for a winter league team might do the trick in getting back to the big leagues. However, he wouldn't receive a fruitful offer and was seen more as a pinch hitter than a capable everyday player. Vladdy held on to some hope that an MLB team would give him another shot, but it never materialized. In September of 2013, Vlad announced over a radio interview in the Dominican Republic that he was retiring from baseball. Not reaching 500 home runs was disappointing for Vlad when looking back on his time in the big leagues, but there's no denying that he put together a historically great career worthy of a Cooperstown induction. There's one stat I came across that I have to share because it shows that Vladdy is truly one of the all-time greats. Of all the players in baseball history with at least 449 career home runs, 4 of the greatest this game has ever seen, Stan Musial, Ted Williams, Lou Gehrig, and Mel Ott, are the only players to have struck out less frequently than Guerrero. In 2018, Vlad would get the highest honor a ball player can earn, induction into the Baseball Hall of Fame. When learning that he would be the first position player to be elected from the Dominican Republic, Guerrero had this to say: "I'm extremely proud of that and I'm humbled. There were so many great Dominican players before me, and I never thought I'd be the first position player to make it. I know there's a group coming that could give me some very good company from my country. I know I'll have some company very soon." While he wouldn't be playing baseball any longer, he can now sit back and be a proud father to his son Vlad Jr., who was signed by the Blue Jays in 2015. His eventual rise to elite prospect status and becoming a perennial all-star in the majors has to feel rewarding for Vlad Sr. His example of consistency is a high bar to surpass, but who knows, maybe his son will one day join him in Cooperstown. For his career, Vlad put together a 59.5 WAR, a preposterous .318 career average, tallied 2,590 hits, mashed 449 homers, drove in 1,496 runs, and stole 181 bases. Let's just say there's a reason he has nicknames like Super Vlad and Vlad the Impaler. The guy could flat out hit, and he did it on such a consistent basis that it's hard to fathom looking back on it. If there's one thing you should take away from this video, it's that throughout his career, Vlad's bat is what did the talking. Let me know in the comments down below your thoughts on the video. If you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like and consider subscribing. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Later.